I love how Craig, like, sometimes when he doesn't know the name of a character, will just substitute in the voice actor's name because he knows the person actually portraying the character better than the character itself, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing or something I should admire, but it's still pretty cool.
Probably a little bit admiring, probably bad because I can't recall the character's name for shit, but I'm such a voice actor nerd.
Like, there'll be times where Craig's just like, hey, Cassie, do you remember when Troy Baker? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Who's Troy Baker? He's the guy with the...
Oh, I know who he is, but I know he's not...
hair?
I know he's not actively an anime character.
No, not anymore. He's above that shit now.
And beyond, and welcome to another episode of the Annie Chat Box. Today I am your host, Jonathan Joestar, or Durango, as I am being referred to as, and I'm not sure which I'm being called here anymore.
John. Good old John.
Joestar-san.
And that is my cat Tess, who's decided to join in for a change.
So Tess, what is your opinions upon this podcast? Alrighty then.
Not a fan, apparently.
And today I am joined by the lovely Cassie.
Hi, I'm eating ice cream I forgot was on my desk.
Along with the equally lovely Cammy.
Hello.
Equally
and
lovely.
And my fellow gentleman of the box, Craig.
We three! That's a reference to E3 2016. E3 is happening this weekend, in fact, and I'm hyped. But we're not here for that. We're here for anime, not video games.
No, we're not here for that either. We're here to debate the fact that Cammy is the loveliest person here.
No, it's also the loveliest person here.
Yeah, I'm a fan of that.
And this is why it can be a debate.
Just accept that I am your prince. This is not dropping a hint to an eventual judge's or host's choice, but you know.
Dun, 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 dun.
That's escalating quickly. She's your prince.
Of course.
All right, sorry, okay. John. I'm sorry that we've taken the hosting away from you. Please resume.
Oh no, you're just dropping Easter eggs. It's fine. It's cool. It's fine.
I like Peeps.
Anyway, as per usual, you can find us on YouTube by searching for the Annie Chat Box. You can also find us on Twitter through twitter.com/theanniechatbox and email us on anniechatmail@gmail.com. And for listening purposes, you can find us on iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and SoundCloud.
Woo!
There is also a Patreon that you can feel free to contribute to at patreon.com/theanniechatbox. Feel free to send us any monies you wish to help us improve in the future and make this place even better. And
where is
with
this
that,
place?
I believe we're on to our main topic for today.
Mm-hmm.
Which is, where is this place? Where is it? Just kidding. That's not the topic.
So, as a bit of a backstory to this one, I recently watched a Q&A panel hosted by the cast of Overwatch when the subject of ships came up. When Charlotte Chung, who is the voice actress behind Diva, said that she loved the comic showing Soldier 76 and Diva in a more father-daughter relationship. Which got me thinking, so how about those platonic ships, those non-romantic ships out there? Are there any that our fellow hosts here find endearing and close to their hearts for whatever reason? Like two characters you think are the best of brothers, although not actually related, or whatever. Or maybe someone's just a great father figure for someone else, or mother figure.
So by brother but not really, could we do the emoto but not really? Wink, wink.
Well, I guess for those ones that aren't forcibly pushing the romantic tension everywhere, because I mean, that's a trend.
Yeah, just best of friends.
I'm out then. Bye.
Were you going to use that as your way to talk some more about Eromanga Sensei and how it's great?
Oh God, no.
I suppose sibling relationships are
I was making a joke. Why does nobody realize I'm funny? Nobody realizes I'm hilarious.
Oh dear.
So, I mean, an example of that, just talking about sibling pairs that obviously not platonic, are platonic, not romantic. One of my favorites is Sunohara and his little sister Mei in Clannad, which they're two minor characters in the show, but there's a little mini arc about just like Mei feeling kind of distant from her older brother, who she really looks up to and used to protect her all the time. And it got really, really like heavy, as Clannad does with most of its arcs. And that one really struck me just as someone who, I'm a little sister, I'm the youngest, and I have two older brothers, and I have not a lot of patience a lot of times for the little sister, older brother romance thing, because, you know, I'm like, no, give me an earnest sibling relationship, kind of like what I have. And so that arc really, really got to me emotionally, and I related to it, and I appreciate it a whole lot. Because, yeah, they're sibs. They're good sibs.
If you want to talk, sorry. I was
about to say, I remember the arc, and I see where you're coming from. I do really enjoy that arc for the reasons that you said.
Yeah.
Well, definitely. I was just going to throw, I don't necessarily want to talk in depth about it unless you guys do, but another good showing of a really good platonic sibling relationship in anime that a lot of people will immediately think of is Ed and Al from Fullmetal Alchemist.
Yes! Oh my goodness!
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely.
They are one of the arguably one of the best sibling pairings in anime in general, because people just know that, you know, they know those two brothers. They know the Elric brothers. Even if you're a mild fan of anime, you'll typically know about those two and their relationship, and it's very well orchestrated throughout the anime about how their relationship is a little bit deeper than what you first see, and it gets a little deeper later on the guilt that they feel in both regards to each other, which is pretty well done, I believe.
Absolutely. It's really nice that their relationship is one of the key focal points of the series as well, so that just gives it all the room for all of the depth and the reason that we care about it so much. And as I am currently watching through Brotherhood, just fuck me up.
Is that your first time watching Brotherhood then?
Oh yeah.
Very good show. Very good.
I still need to finish watching Brotherhood. Every time I start watching it, something gets in the way and I can't watch any more beyond what I've gotten to. And then when I finally get around to it, it's like, okay, I might as well start from the beginning again.
So
I get further and further into it each time while I do this, but
So speaking of just like shonen though as well, I want to hear input from the boys who have watched at least more shonen than me. I think Cassie also has a good amount, like considering Hunter x Hunter, so if you want to weigh in on this as well. But what about some like comrades maybe in some shonen shows that have a really strong bond?
Well, you have Riza Hawkeye and Roy Mustang from Fullmetal Alchemist. That's a good camaraderie.
That
and
is another.
They essentially support each other and make each other better to try and fulfill their dreams. One, obviously, trying to better the person in the hierarchy of the government, and
are they canonically canon? I can't remember.
I
mean, I guess that's a spoiler, so never mind. But I always felt that they were more romantic than.
Okay, I can retract that then. How about a mentorship, Jiraiya and Naruto? You know,
Yes.
Jiraiya essentially being like a grandfather, the pervy sage to Naruto, taught him the Rasengan, how to summon toads and all that cool shit. and he went on a training montage with them between the original OG Naruto to Shippuden.
You just made me think of another one. What about Kyuta and Kumatetsu in The Boy and the Beast?
Ooh.
Yes, that is an excellent one.
Yes.
Very much so.
Again, focal point of the film. It's a wonderful film if anybody hasn't seen it, and that hints on kind of the mentorship, maybe pseudo father-son if you want to look at it that way, as friends. There's just a lot of there's a lot of good dynamic in their relationship, and I like that a whole lot.
Stupid old men as they fight, and then they throw eggs and rice at each other all the time.
Yes.
And he trains to be better. It's pretty cool. I like it.
In a similar fashion, actually, in a more recent series, as in still currently airing, I love the relationship between Deku and All Might.
Yes!
My emotions are on the floor.
You might want to pick those up.
Admittedly, we're still seeing that build up, but I just love watching the two interact.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
But how about that box lunch?
I was about to say,
I just love how Deku looks up to All Might too. Like there's a pure love that he has for All Might that is definitely not romantic, but there is a love and admiration there. And I feel to an extent, All Might looks at him in the same way, almost as, I don't want to say a son, but someone who he wants to succeed. Which you would attribute to a father, but I just don't get that feeling from the two of them. But I guess that's something that could be debated, I suppose. But I don't know, there's this very unique form of love between those two that is just beautiful and fun to watch.
yeah, it's almost fatherly, but not quite, and it's
almost mentory, but not quite.
And I think part of that is just the fact that a lot of the mentors we mentioned before kind of became mentors by force, and you have really the level with Deku where All Might is like his idol, like everything that he aspires to be. So there's always kind of, I think that there's a definition in their relationship really where it's like, and it's cool to see it progress from where it's Deku's view looking at All Might as like god tier, he's kind of untouchable, to seeing him really for who he is, the human behind him, and even I think just kind of Deku's sense of like protective responsibility as well to All Might is really, really cool to see.
Yeah, it's
on the flip side of it, the way that All Might sees Deku when they first met, he and heard Deku's story, he gave Deku the same answer that everyone else had, but then he saw that side of Deku that he had forgotten about himself when he was younger, and was like, no, I'm being an idiot. There's one key thing that I'm forgetting, and that makes him more heroic than most of the heroes here. So, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I love that relationship a lot. And
it's very earnest.
And I think what's really great about this topic in general is that you can love pairings that are not going to make out by the end of the show. It's so
Absolutely.
great.
Absolutely. I think that like one of my best friends who loves shonen shows, and also likes, I think she identifies as asexual, but she also appreciates the presence of like asexual relationships in anime, and she really loves One Punch Man and the dynamic between Genos and Saitama, as that they are comrades, they live together, they could always, interact together, but there's no like forefront of it has to be romantic, they have to make out, which is nice.
Yeah, because again, it's a very earnest relationship where Genos, bless him, does all he can, but Saitama can literally kill anything without even trying, and Genos is, Master, teach me your ways as how you became so jacked.
Yeah. Yeah, there's also just cute
One
little
Punch Man is
dynamics
amazing.
between them, like going grocery shopping together and eating meals and stuff like that, and normalizing that
Mhm.
that's not just something that a typical married couple does. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of more like maybe like strong female friendships as well. But nothing's coming to mind right now.
One that pops into my mind immediately,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not going to say what their relationship is by the end to avoid spoilers, but in an animated movie, when Marnie was there,
Yes,
that's a
good
very
one.
good female relationship where they really get to know each other and their struggles, both individually and together, and how they function as friends or not just friends.
Best friends.
Which is like bestest buddies, and also from their different social statuses, like how that really interacts with them and makes them want to encourage each other, and also how Marnie is a very good driving force later on for the main
Mhm.
character girl whose name I am forgetting because I am an idiot. But they
I wish I
really
could tell
do. They really do help each other out a lot, and I feel like that's a good female driven.
Absolutely, that entire film. And I think her name was Anna. I think.
It might
Yeah.
have been.
Yeah.
I'll go look it up.
Yeah. Either way, though, I think that's a stellar example and one that I did not even consider. So thank you for that.
That movie fucks me up. If you guys haven't seen When Marnie Was There,
Go watch
Good movie.
it.
Very good movie.
Go watch it. Let me think here. Why is my mind drawing a blank?
I can think of one
Mhm.
that's kind of there, but I wish I would have seen more from. Ringo and Himari seem to
Yes!
really help each other out a lot in Penguin Drum. Though it's not
Oh,
as
yeah.
much of a solidified relationship as other shows, but especially towards the end, they have something that really brings them together, which is a spoiler, so I will not say it. But
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
being like as general as possible. I love the fact that show, again, to me, kind of blew expectations where there are just, I'll say very generally, like romantic entanglements that kind of surround them. And I thought that would put them in a position where they would oppose each other, but it was really nice to see that whole scenario being bypassed and that they just appreciated each other's company for being, oh, she's a nice girl, and that never became a force to alienate them from each other. And I really, really appreciated that.
Could you say the same of the girls from Railgun?
Do you know
Yes.
I've never seen Railgun?
as someone who has seen Railgun, that is actually, I think that is an even better example.
Nice.
Because that is a group of young ladies, especially, ironically, the supporting cast. I feel it deals with darker and more intense plot lines than even the main, Mikasa and Ojo Shama girl. I don't remember her name.
Kuroko.
She annoys me. There you go.
Kuroko Shirai.
Yeah, those two have a very good relationship and push each other really well, but I feel like oh god, John, help me out here. Black-haired girl and short-haired brown-haired girl.
Satan and
what was her
So
friend's
sick.
name?
I forget the other girl.
I am
who's-
so bad with names, but I feel like their relationship was even more like, I don't know. They just have a very genuine friendship, and
Mhm.
you do deal with the fact that, one of them wants to be something that she really can't, and how she deals with that, and how they support each other in that regards. It's so good, and I need to go rewatch Railgun.
It's on the Funimation and the Crunchyroll.
Excuse me, I'm just gonna go do some gross sobbing in the corner.
Oh boy.
This
I also-
entire topic is just gross sobbing.
Yes. I also feel
lot of
obligated to... Oh,
camaraderie.
were you going to mention one, Craig?
No, I just said a lot of camaraderie
Yes.
and sobbing.
I feel obligated to mention Kaoru and Sentaro in Kids on the Slope, which are two best bros ever that I only see as best bros. Some people ship them romantically. I am not one of those, and I think that the show is stronger for just showing a relationship of best friends and how much impact they can have in your life for a while. There's a lot of nice topics addressed, such as jealousy, like when one of your best friends becomes close with somebody else and you're like, what am I going to do without them? There's a lot of sensitivity around that. That show is phenomenal, and I suggest everybody watch it, but watch it with one of your best friends if you have the chance to.
So I got two suggestions. One for bros and one for the ladies.
One for
You
bros
got
and one
not-
for hoes.
Yeah, okay, that too. For the bros, you got any sports show ever, aka the Fujoshi bait. But
Yes.
Haikyuu, you got some definite camaraderie there with Hinata and Obito, I believe that's his name. And then you have Kuroko no Basket. Cami knows. Cami knows.
Oh, yes.
And then for the ladies, obviously Nana.
Very good one.
Strong.
Very good one.
Strong female connections.
Thank you, Craig.
Camaraderie. They support each other.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Also, oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Everybody wants to talk over each other today. Also, if I may, I personally want to ship them romantically, but it is not, as of the moment, canon. I think Kilo and Gon are very good examples of camaraderie.
Absolutely.
Mm.
And the fact that two people who are very, very, very different people can become best friends and help each other see things in each other that they necessarily couldn't see each before, and they do deserve to have friends. And when, what I really actually like later on in that show, what happens when something comes between those two friends, and I believe how they really handled that was actually really realistic and hurt me internally, but we can talk about that another day. But yeah, I want them to be a thing, but canonically I know that they're not, and that would be a good example of a possibly platonic ship.
Why do you want them to be a thing?
Because I'm a sick person.
That's the
Dirty
shorthand,
Fujoshi?
because or else we'll make an entire episode about the merits of Killua and Gon.
I mean, and then on that same episode, we'll be like, so Kaoru Shinji.
Oh my god, don't even talk to me about that!
which again, like, that's something that you could argue platonic or not, and I believe as a platonic ship, they also work as well, because Kaoru, especially in the reboot movies,
Yeah.
where we get to see a little bit more of them, because, I mean, I think they did it really well in the original as well, but I believe in the reboot movies, they get a little bit more screen time together.
Yeah.
And you really
They
get to
play
see
piano.
about how Kaoru really helps Shinji realize that he has worth as a person. And
Mhm.
while there is not anything canon that says that they're a thing, I think that me and Cammy are both sitting over here going, it's canon, it's canon, it's canon, it's canon.
Yeah, I'm like lit on fire while I'm saying that over and over.
Fujoshis.
But to be fair, there is nothing that I can really put on the table to say, yes, this is 150% the case. So people could argue that that's also a good platonic relationship as well.
Even though
And I feel the same about Hunter x Hunter. Sorry.
Yes. No, thank you for sparking Evangelion, because another relationship, while it has its very rocky moments, as do most of the relationships in Evangelion, I really enjoy the relationship between Misato and Shinji. It's very complex.
Yes.
And I appreciate just kind of getting a glimpse at it, because it's never fully realized. There's a lot of like stuff under the surface, and it was always a high point of the show for me.
Just
Evangelion
essentially
is great
about
for
a
that
lady
in
that
general.
is tasked to take care of a kid.
Well, yeah, and she's just like the not a motherly figure in
Capable.
the slightest. So
Yeah.
it's a very unique perspective to take, and it's a relationship between a single older woman and a really sad child.
I want to throw out a correction here. I said one of the boys' names from Haikyuu. It's Tobio, not Obito. Tobio Kageyama.
You are just a Naruto land, aren't you?
Always am, always will be. Yes.
One relationship it actually involves a group, but yeah, one that I really want to bring up is that I love the dynamic between Sanai and I've forgotten his name, and how they treat Nagisa's parents, and how they treat Tomoya and take them under their wing, take him under their wings in Clannad, and like they didn't need to. They could have just looked at him as like, yeah, you're my daughter's boyfriend, whatever. But they really saw like, no, he needs parental figures in his life, and so we're gonna be there for him, and we're gonna support him, and then it just carries on from there. And
That's a good one. That's definitely a good one.
Especially because he became kind of like an adopted son, and then later on a son-in-law. But
yeah,
they did a really good job in Clannad, I think, in general, of showing both romantic and familial relationships really well. Like the interactions between Fuka and her sister, or Fuko, sorry, I don't know why I said Fuka. Fuko and her sister, for example, we never really get to see them interact with each other personally, except for like right at the end. But how they even just talk about each other gives you this image of a familial love that you can tell is genuine, which is pretty great. Clannad's just so good. It's just so good.
Yeah.
10 out of 10?
That's maybe a conversation for another day.
Why is Clannad so good?
Why is Clannad? Why is Key so good? And why is Key so bad in some situations?
I feel like almost every connection not in UBW, but in Fate Zero, almost every connection there is platonic and very interesting because you have all the teams and just like each of their dynamics is very different, but has a lot going behind it. And I liked seeing how the characters bounced off of each other in that show. And I'd say literally like every single team is like a platonic ship, semi-ship, far stronger than others, but lots of that.
Especially Waver and Ryder.
They're my favorite.
Those are
ever.
Definitely faves.
Ryder just goes with everyone, though. If you think about it, if Ryder was paired up with anyone, he would make them, even the curmudgeon, like, teacher guy, he would just make him happier.
Iskandar the Great, more like king of all the platonic ships. Every single one.
Yep.
Conqueror of platonic ships.
Conqueror
of
the ships.
Conversation should just be about problematic ships. We could also talk about Fate Zero and talk about oh god, creepy guy and mass murderer,
good god,
orange-haired guy. That's a pairing made in hell. That was
creepy masked what guy?
I don't remember their names. I'm so bad with names today, guys.
It's Caster and his master.
Yeah. Oh, Ryuji.
Oh, nice going.
I believe Johnny Young Bosch's character.
Mm-hmm.
I love how Craig, like, sometimes when he doesn't know the name of a character, will just substitute in the voice actor's name because he knows the person actually portraying the character better than the character itself, which I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing or something I should admire, but it's still pretty cool.
Probably a little bit admiring, probably bad because I can't recall the character's name for shit. But I'm such a voice actor nerd.
Like, there'll be times where Craig's just like, hey, Cassie, do you remember when Troy Baker? And I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Who's Troy Baker? He's the guy with the...
I know who he is, but I know he's not...
hair?
I know he's not actively an anime character.
No, not anymore. He's above that shit now.
Here's a weird one, and it's probably just me because I love dogs, but in all of the Persona games, you have social links between all of the characters. And one of my favorite social links in Persona 3 was the one with MC or Femc as I played, and Koromaru, who is a dog. I like that. Platonic dynamic.
You can have a social link with the dog?
Yes.
Yeah, you can.
Oh,
I love that social link too.
I never got... So how does that work? Oh. How do you answer questions correctly with Koromaru? I almost said Komaru.
You take him on walks and, like, you feed him and stuff, and things will happen, like... You know, like, he'll go howl at the moon, and you're like, oh, he must be thinking of his old master, and then it's like, and then he sensed your camaraderie, and you petted him, and then level up. It's pretty cute.
I mean, hey, like, that's actually a good point. Like, what is, the best platonic ships in anime are probably people interacting with their animals. She and her cat.
She and her cat, Sailor Moon and Luna.
Yep, there you go. Mm-hmm. There's also the girl from Azumanga Daioh and her cat.
The one that bites everyone?
Yes.
Yeah, but that one cat doesn't bite her though.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah. They're best
I did
friends.
Not know.
Yeah. Ships
I'm
come
trying
in
to
all
think.
shapes and sizes.
Sakura and Keroberos.
Yep, that's a good one.
Madoka and Kyobet. Just kidding.
That's a great relationship. I don't know what you're talking about.
Run the gamut.
I'm trying to think of actual, like, not just mascot characters or familiars, but, like, actual pets, too. Because those are a real thing, and it's something that anime really likes to throw on your feels sometimes, and I'm just blanking on more than just the Azumanga girl.
Yes.
Makoto and Piro in canon.
Oh! Okay, yes. Yes.
There is, while it's also a mascot, but also pet, you have Kiki and Gigi and Kiki's Delivery Service, too.
Oh, yes, that was so precious.
True.
I love that. I love that a lot. Gosh, we just...
I feel like we've been everywhere.
Yeah, well, now we're animals, so we'll never leave. That's the problem. It's just like, screw the anime review, let's talk about animals. But also, speaking of pets / mascots / something from Hunter x Hunter that I actually see as a platonic relationship, and this is, I'm not going to put it as a spoiler, but Ikalgo and Killua are a very good example of camaraderie between a creature and a human being.
The squid guy?
Oh, I think I remember that.
Yep, he, and also, if I can, Aluka and Killua is another good one. She's not a pet, but it's another good sibling relationship.
Nice.
But yeah, Ikalgo is a little octopus thing, creature, chimera, who saves Killua's life later on.
Ash and Pikachu.
And he teaches him the meaning of friends. Ash and Pikachu. Ash and any of his Pokemon. Butterfree, please. Christ.
Oh, Butterfree! Bye-bye, Butterfree!
Fuck my life. Just fuck me up, Pokemon.
Did you cry on that episode? I still cry. Class?
Pokemon has so many good moments like that, though. Mm-hmm. We've just like, oh no.
Just fuck me up.
Camaraderie. The segment all about comrades.
And one also piece. In a similar vein to Pokemon, Digimon and their part, the Digidestined and their partners, pretty much every one of those.
BFFs.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. But yeah, I think that at the end of the day, what's really important to remember is that we do watch anime a lot of the time because we do want to see relationships between characters, whether it be deep and emotional and makes us cry, or something crazy and silly like Daily Lives of High School Boys. Those guys had great friendships that really made us laugh and enjoy the time they were on screen. But we also cried with Ed and Al, and we cried in canon. We cried watching things happen between these characters we cared so much about. So at the end of the day, platonic ships are just as important, if not more so in some cases, than romantic ones.
I agree. And it's nice to take a minute to spotlight them, because I find this with myself, and especially back when I was in high school, I watched a lot of stuff like through a romantic lens all the time. So it's nice to be able to take a step back and really appreciate those relationships that are just earnest because they're written well and the characters complement each other incredibly well. So thank you, John, for this topic idea. I actually really appreciate it.
Word.
Yeah. Good job, bro. Oh, and by the way, we're not saying romantic relationships can't be earnest, but
yes. No. But
it's a different kind of earnest, and it's a different kind of good. Because God knows, if I could sit down and watch romantic anime all day, I would, and do. But yeah, any closing thoughts, John, that we may not have gotten from you yet?
No, it's just as you said. It's all good looking at all the romantic relationships in there, whether they're canon or not. You can see all the romantic relationships you want, but it is a nice change of pace to stop and think about the relationships between the non-romantic relationships between characters, and just take a moment to appreciate those. So. And again, it's not a subject I had thought about until Diva's voice actress brought it up, and it's like, yeah, good point. Actually, this would be an interesting topic. So, shouts out to there.
Go Diva.
Anyway,
Diva, best Overwatch girl. Bam! Throws down. Now we can fight over that. No, we can't. We gotta review things.
Anyway, I suppose it's now time to move over to our anime review of the week. And I suppose it's time to be talking about My Generation, with
Talking about my
Good song
generation.
insertion.
Koe no Katachi, or a silent voice. The synopsis goes, as a wild youth, elementary school student Shoya Ishida sought to beat boredom in the cruelest ways. When the deaf Shoko Nishima transfers into his class, Shoya and the rest of his class thoughtlessly bully her for fun. However, when her mother notifies the school, he is singled out and blamed for everything done to her. With Shoko transferring out of the school, Shoya is left at the mercy of his classmates. He is heartlessly ostracized all throughout elementary school and middle school, while teachers turn a blind eye. Now in his third year of high school, Shoya is still plagued by his wrongdoings as a young boy. Sincerely regretting his past actions, he sets out on a journey of redemption, to meet Shoko once more and make amends. Koe no Katachi tells the heartwarming tale of Shoya's reunion with Shoko and his honest attempts to redeem himself, all while being continually haunted by the shadows of his past. The studio behind this is Kyoto Animation, or KyoAni, as we like to call them, and other things they have done are Hyoka, Free, and of course, as we've mentioned it in the previous section, Clanard. So
I also think it's worth mentioning maybe that the original source material is a manga that's had a lot of good acclaim. And I know that at least, Cassie, you and I have read it. Craig or John, have you also read the manga series?
No, immediately after I watched the movie, I wanted to start reading it, but I haven't gotten a hot minute to read it. I know it's on Crunchyroll, if you have a subscription to them.
I started reading it, and I got to a point that I thought was the end, but apparently wasn't.
GG.
So I thought I had read it all, and then the movie kind of carried on past where I thought it got to, and I was like, there's more. Okay.
Good job. I have read the manga, and it is one of, if not my favorite mangas. We don't tend to spotlight too many bits of source material, but I would say go and read this thing, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Just because the film is not like a clean entire adaptation, I guess is why I would say that there is more to be told in the manga, so it's worth checking both out, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, that's a good segue into how well the story is told in this film, which, even though it did knock out a few parts of the manga, I wasn't particularly offended. And I guess this would be a good comparison between those who've read the entire manga and those who haven't. But I felt that they actually handled themselves, considering this is a 2-hour long movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you're trying to cram 7 volumes of series in there.
Yeah, and I mean, 2 hours is a long time to sit anyway. So if you're going to show us something that isn't going to feel dragged out, but also not feel so rushed that those who have read the manga are going to say, oh, come on, really? And I was so nervous, and I think they did a really freaking good job. Personally.
I agree. I was very impressed with how everything was handled. And the bits that they chose to take out, to me, was understandable. But then there were moments that I was surprised that they kept in. And just having those moments added the sense of delicacy that I think the manga had, even though they couldn't incorporate everything in there. And I think that the story they told is succinct enough and sticks to the feelings that the manga gives you. So I would agree to that.
If not even adds onto it, I believe.
There wasn't anything that felt rushed. It felt like it kept a good pace. I never felt like they skipped out on anything. Being one who hasn't finished reading the manga, that is. there wasn't any moment that was like, okay, so where did this come from? It all made sense. It felt like a good adaptation. So,
Craig, did you find the story to be complete and well told? As someone who this was your first time being exposed to the story at all, what did you think about it?
So, my exposure to this was essentially Cass and Pete, shoutouts to him, saying, you need to read this. This tackles a lot of things. It's heavy, but it's well executed. And I told myself I was going to read this manga, but by the time I got around to trying to read this manga, the movie popped. And then we all sat down and watched it. And I looked up general broad strokes of what was omitted and what was different from the manga to the source to the adaptation, and I can see where they cut some stuff out, but all in all, I found it to be a complete package, which, by the end, completely destroyed me.
Mm-hmm.
It was very well paced, it was fucking phenomenal. I saw it twice, literally I saw it on Thursday with Cass and Pete, and it was a great time.
I have watched this film 5 times in the last week, and I'm going to watch it again on Sunday.
Yes, you are. You're going to watch it tomorrow.
And I would not put myself through that if I did not enjoy the story, and also did not enjoy the characters, which actually is one of the few gripes I have with this film, and I feel that we could all talk about, because I feel like the characters that we needed to know, we got to know, and they did very well, especially with the presentation of Yuzuru's character, who is the younger sister of Shoko. I believe Shoko was very well acted in addition to well portrayed. For sure. And same with our main lead of Ishida. However, I feel like a lot of the side characters unfortunately got shafted, and I think that's mostly due to it being a movie runtime.
Yeah.
Yep.
The additional cast, Kawaii Mashiba, I believe his name. Mashiba especially, I felt got shafted.
Very just there.
He's just there in the manga, in the original source material, which I hate doing this. I hate referring to the original, but I just really, really want people to read it because you actually get to see him as a character instead of, oh, pretty boy who's just there to say, I'm happy that you're here.
He wants to be friends with you. Really? Man, you're a side character. What do you got to add?
I think
I have opinions.
Well, oops.
Again, I feel bad for referencing back to the manga as well, but it's even expressed in a very interesting way in the manga, where there's actually a chunk of time where every single character in the friend group gets their own solo chapter, so you can get more of their perspective. Which
that's good.
Is
exactly.
So if you want a lot of depth, go with that. But I also do understand why they had to take that out, because again, movie runtime and what they could include. But yeah, if you want more of that and want to get a more in-depth experience as to how the friend group works, why it got started in the first place, I definitely say check out the manga.
Definitely.
But we can all agree that Nagatsuka was the best side character.
Oh, he was great.
I love Nagatsuka. Yes.
He's fantastic, and even though they did shaft some of his development that we do see in the original source material, that he is the one side character I didn't feel like it mattered, because they still got across the fact of he's obsessively platonically in love. In love with Ishida, and he really wants to be
big
his
friend.
Yes,
and that's great. Big friendo.
Best friends. Well, I mean, he gave him a shot. I would assume, essentially, where Nagatsuka was kind of like Ishida in the fact that no one really paid him no mind, and Ishida helped him out.
Who else did I like? Oh, the mothers. The mothers, I think they did a really good job with.
Yes, and that's another, again, Shoko's mom. Go read the manga.
Yeah.
I like Ishida's mom because she's a great mom, but also I really like her hairstyle. It should be noted that she runs a barbershop, so she's got bleached hair with a little bit of black hair on top of her blonde.
Maria was great.
Design.
Maria was so cute.
I love Maria.
Actually, surprisingly enough, and this was just for me personally, but one of the most standout scenes to me in the film was actually between Ishida and his mother in like the first third of the film. I thought that just delivery-wise, like voice acting, and of course the subject matter of it was really powerful, really well executed, and struck a chord with me. And I commend the film. And again, you know, Key Animation's ability to Kyoto Annie, whatever, their ability to be able to take such a small scene and bring so much more to it.
Again, without spoiling anything as to exactly what's going on, we'll save that for the spoiler section. This movie touches on some heavy subjects in its 2-hour runtime, and it is all the better for it.
And what themes would we say those are, if that's okay, just quickly for people? Like,
one of them I feel that we should avoid is why they were having that conversation.
No, yeah, absolutely. But like bullying,
bullying, social anxiety is very, 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 very well depicted. Disability,
depression.
Yeah.
Self-loathing.
Yeah. So there's a lot.
Steps to recovery is another thing that they.
Ooh, nice.
Redemption.
Yeah.
Yep. And what's cool about this story, I feel like we should point out, is that it is a slice of life. There is nothing fantastical about this movie, besides the visuals, which we'll get to later. But this is something I feel that one of the reasons why it's so emotionally impacting, or even not even just emotionally impacting, but just impacting in its message, is that all of these characters are real people and they feel that way. Which is pretty rad.
Yeah, it's really nice that if they're touching on such human subject matters like that, then the characters really feel real and their emotions feel real. That's, I think, what's so incredibly powerful about both the manga and I think the anime film translated well over with, too. But
Definitely.
Also, that animation.
That animation.
Oh, my lord.
Oh, my Lanta.
Oh, my Lanta. Can I just say, I know it's not necessarily an animation spot, but a thing that I noticed upon my second viewing was the fact that the camera work is very well done. It's not only scenic, but the way the camera handles conversations with people is very well done, and that is kind of handled through Ishida's perspective.
Yes, Ishida and some other characters, but you're right, the camera work and how they really drive home even in the camera work, how they drive home the facts that, you know, I have so many feels, the feelings of social anxiety and avoiding of people's eyes and faces, and all of these wonderful things that are just done very subtly with the camera work are insane if you go and watch it a second time. Not
to mention with everyone with an X over their face.
That one's pretty evident. But no, that would be in production, so that's completely relevant, Craig.
Yeah.
Sound in this as well. The way they manipulated sound, not even just through music, which, by the way, was fantastic. It's been a long time since I've wanted to download an OST, but I want this one. But also, like, for example, there is a very impacting scene with fireworks. And at the height of that scene, everything goes silent. And their use of just, I have chills just thinking about it. They did really good.
Not to mention, and I'm not going to point out specifics, but there's one scene where everything hits an emotional high and the music crescendos, and everything just...
Yeah.
It just gets so much more emphasized by the fact that the scenery, the imagery, the music all works in tandem with each other to create such an experience to cap off this scene. It's fantastic. Very well executed.
I feel like, given the context of the film and some of the themes it addresses, such as like disability and kind of, there's a lot of like sensory touches to the film that I really appreciated, and definitely in sound design. Some of the pieces, like one of the key soundtrack pieces, I think it's the one that you're mentioning, Craig, is so subtle in the different kinds of sounds it has and how it builds, and it's just very cerebral, like you feel it. Or there were times where like blurs were accented really well to kind of give perception into the characters and their feelings, and I really, really, really appreciated that a whole lot.
I feel like if you were to go to school for production, and by the way, I am not I'm not a specialist. This is not my specialty. I did not study film. I wish I did. But I feel like if you did, and this is completely uneducated opinion, but if you wanted to show a group of people what a good combination of sound and visuals looks like, you could take almost any scene from this animated movie and show it to a class, and it would be a good example. There are some more scenes that I feel that are more standout than others, but this movie just does a very good job of, like Cammie said, touching a lot of your senses all at once, what you hear, what you see, and in a result, what you feel. It's this strange experience that you don't get a lot. And I think it's one of the reasons why we watch anime or film or TV shows, is you want that feeling, and it did a great job of giving that to me. And I haven't had that kind of appreciation for just production work in a long while.
I have to agree. Yeah. There were just so many moments that I was just like, I am awestruck by what I am seeing right now.
Can we just give us shout outs to how like fluid the sign language or JSL was, and I have an appreciation for it.
Oh,
and the fact that they do all the hand motions, they're able to do it fluidly. And this may be going back a little bit back to the characters, but the way that the actress had she couldn't enunciate properly, very powerful in the fact that they went the extra effort, and it was even translated as such too, with English that is impaired.
It's so easy to how to put it, to fake it and sound fake. And sound insulting to, but I don't get it. Like, I honestly believe that she's deaf and doesn't know how to pronounce properly, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you use her tongue effectively. So shout out to that voice actress.
Yeah,
shout out to all of them.
Yeah. Shoko's voice actress was just phenomenal, and I almost was at the opinion when I first watched it. Obviously, the film has so much merit, but like, even just having Shoko's character be voiced alone, I'm like, thank God this got an adaptation. Like, just to have that extra level added into the medium was really, really good. And I want to say it's Sayori Hayami is the voice actress who did Shoko.
You are correct. And
Ishida definitely stole the show as well.
Ishida is Miyu Iino.
That the range of emotion on that one character is insanity.
Yeah.
And the voice actor / actress, I have no idea, probably voice actor, did amazing at portraying him and all of his different feelings, whether it be him feeling the social anxiety aspect, the shakiness of his voice. There is a scene later on where he just feels relief. He's like standing on a bridge, just to give you guys some context, after running for a while. And there's just this moment where he goes, and it's just like, oh, I would probably, it's just so subtle. The voice acting is subtle and powerful and wonderful, and I can't say enough. And it's not just the main voice cast either. Everybody did amazing.
For sure.
There's not one voice actor or actress I could say did a horrible job or was subpar.
No. Yeah.
It's insanity.
They're all very well-known powerhouses, veterans of the craft, as it were.
So, from there, where do we go from there? Do we want to go into full ratings at this point, or is there any other things we want to bring up?
I I think that we could, unless everybody else wants to say something additional. But I think we covered character, story, and production values, which is mainly the things that we can really discuss. But our own personal feelings about it is where the ratings come into play. So, what do you say, hoster? Hoster with the moster?
Yeah, it sounds like a good point to move on to ratings, and then we can go into spoiler section. So,
okay.
Who wants to be the first victim?
I will be the tribute.
I volunteer as tribute.
I volunteer as tribute. Hunger Games. I'm District 7 representative Katniss Everdeen. So I said it before, and I'll say it again. This movie is heavy as shit. I did not expect to be as invested with this flick, as it were. After 2 hours in, I was a mess. And I had to, decompress, as it were, after the fact. And it made me very conscious of how people, it says something when you can relate to some facets of a character, or you can relate to another facet of another character. It made me want to go out and try and better myself in some way, or go and shower those around me more with appreciation, show them I love them, all that sort of stuff. 'Cause it's actually very moving, and it's executed very well. Obviously, I love this film, and I cannot wait to see what this original mangaka develops in the future. Because if I recall, Cass, you said that this manga originally received some flack because Japanese culture does not like.
Right. This is something that I would recommend people do some research on their own, but a very quick tidbit is that this manga almost didn't happen. Nobody wanted to publish it because of its subject matter.
Which says something.
Specifically the fact that, and if this is something that bothers you, I wouldn't consider this a spoiler, but if this is something that triggers you, because I could see it being something that could trigger you, please be warned that there is bullying of a girl with disability. It's in the synopsis, it's in the first few minutes of the film. And the fact that teachers and adults looked the other way, they felt reflected bad on Japanese culture and how disability is handled in Japanese culture, which the fact that they didn't want to publish that then in and of itself shows Japan's reaction to disability, and that is a huge heavy topic for maybe another time.
For sure.
But yeah, that's another reason why I love and appreciate this manga so much, is that it almost didn't happen. But finally somebody said, hey, this is important, let's get it published, and it was, and I am really happy. It also started out, I believe, as a one-shot and then actually became a full thing, so that's pretty rad too. That last part I'm not entirely sure of, that's just whisperings I've heard, but the thing about it almost not being published is 150% true.
Gotcha.
I read a huge article on it. But yeah, it's pretty rad that this mangaka decided to tackle such a serious issue, and I hope that she or he tackles more interesting issues in the future. I think we need more of that to digest as a society.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's a really good job that they did decide to publish it in the end, and
the mangaka's name is Yoshitoki Oima.
Right. But back to your rating, Craig.
Oh, sorry. Rating. Obviously, as I said, I love it, and I highly recommend. So, yeah. Are you surprised?
No. Not really. I guess I can go next. Sure. To echo some stuff. It's interesting to me because, of course, I love the manga as well. Read that, found it really, really relatable. I honestly think a lot of people in their lives have either been bullied or been the bully, which, you get both perspectives here in this film, which makes it just an incredible piece to intake in general. But then as well, let's see. I was watching it with a group of friends, and one friend was very, very, very if they don't do the source material justice, I'm just, I'm going to be very upset with it. And I
Okay.
initially went in with sort of not necessarily that critical, but I didn't have my hopes super high. I was like, okay, it'll probably really downplay everything from the manga. But the entire time I watched the film, I loved what they did, and I could see little things here and there that I was like, okay, it would have been nice if they included a chapter that I really wanted them to include that got cut, or if there was more time dedicated to fleshing out some of the side characters. But the fact is, the entire time, I was immersed, and I felt, and I know that's a very simplistic way to put it, but compared to another huge box office anime film that launched recently that left me feeling empty, and I just did not get anything out of, this film touched me. And it's been a long time since I've seen an anime film that has the ability to do that. And I love it exactly for what it is. And there's no way that it could get a lower score than a love it from me. So I highly recommend everybody go check it out.
Quick aside, Kami, what was the movie that you said you didn't feel anything for?
Your Name.
I need to actually
drops the mic, walks away.
I need to actually talk to you about that later then, because
I'm the minority there. So.
Okay.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to go next, John, or do you want me to go?
I think I'll run it out as the host, so...
Okay, well then I will go next. So, a lot of my feelings are mirrored in what Cammie and Craig have already said. There were some small gripes I had with this film, primarily what Cammie already mentioned, but also a couple of things that I want to touch on in the spoilers section. But they never ruined the enjoyment for me. I was completely immersed from beginning to end, and as I said earlier in the episode, I've watched this film 5 times, and not 5 times spread out, 5 times in 1 week. I watched this last weekend initially for the first time, and I'm going to be watching it again tomorrow with some other friends. I would not subject myself to that if I felt nothing. And that's just the thing. This is an emotional release. It's a catharsis. It's something that I can think about and always get something new every time I watch it. Whether it's a couple hours I had watched a couple hours ago, or something that just pops into my head a little later. And I honestly have not felt so intensely all around about something in an animated forum since Your Lie in April. And
yep, that's also cathartic.
And it's very rare that I get to have this kind of emotional release or get to think a lot about something when I watch anime. And that's not a dump on the medium, it just is what it is. But that makes this stand out, and I feel like it's something that everybody should watch, whether you feel that it's going to be as good or reflect the source material or not. I feel like it's something that deserves a chance. And for that reason, I gave it a love it. And honestly, we don't do numbers on this show anymore, but I mean, I gave it a 10 out of 10.
Yep, same.
So, and that says a lot. If you've listened to any of our episodes, I'm pretty harsh when it comes to anime. So that being said, I give it a love it.
It's interesting when you said that, like, you go and watch anime to have an enjoyment. It's like a escapism sort of thing, but when you watch this, you expect to be entertained, but by the end of it, you come out of it thinking more about how that you could be different, or like how this movie changed you, rather than, oh yeah, I throw this on and I'm having a good time. I'm just watching them do the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So it actually good on them with Shigatsu and this. Mediums can make you think.
They can make you want to improve yourself and think about things in a different perspective than you usually would have beforehand. And this is definitely a good eye-opener. And yeah. One thing I want to say that I actually forgot to say earlier is that if anyone does understand sign language, English Sign Language or American Sign Languages, much like accents and different locales, there are differences in sign language, so I don't know how much of the sign language in this will actually translate to American Sign Language or British Sign Language, but it was still really impressive to see it, and I have no doubt that was proper Japanese Sign Language.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah, as everyone else has already said, I went into this with I actually went into this with high hopes because I had seen Cassie's reactions to it and how excitedly she was demanding I watch it with her, and yeah, I was looking forward to this coming out, and I'm really glad I got to see it, and I'm glad I got to watch it with the people I did watch it with, and yeah, it gets a love it from me. I don't really know what else I can add to this also. Yeah.
Love it's across the board.
Highly recommended.
Nice.
Go check it out.
10 out of 10. Would recommend.
10,
And buy
10.
on Blu-ray and watch and cry every time.
I can't wait.
Short aside, do you guys think it'll get a theatrical release potentially in the West?
I'm not sure. I wish it did, because I know that Your Name did.
Yeah.
And it's weird to me that, I mean, both of them made a huge splash around the exact same time, and I don't know if that Your Name just blew it out of the water.
I think it,
and that it
got a bit overshadowed.
Kind of
Yeah,
like
that's
how,
what I hear.
Kind of like how Horizon Zero Dawn came out right when not Wind Waker, when Breath of the Wild came out or something.
Right.
Yeah, and then everyone and their mother played Zelda, and then kind of had to go back to Horizon after the fact.
Yeah, they kind of forgot it existed. I don't know if that's what it is with Koi no Katachi, but at the same time, I feel like that might not be the case, just because it's a Kiyoani show, so therefore it's highly regarded to begin with. And then on top of that, it was a very beloved manga, so I don't know if it'll get a theatrical release. I wish it did.
Yeah, maybe someday. We can hope.
Maybe. If not, I'm hoping it at least gets licensed, because I want this on my shelf, and I want to have it, and I want it to be mine.
It deserves it.
I want it in 1080p Blu-ray.
I'm hoping Funimation gets it instead of Aniplex of America.
But yeah, John, I added that lovely little thing in red that I would love for you to read right now as our beautiful host.
So, what did you all think about Koi no Katachi, our wonderful viewers out there? Or what about our topic earlier? What about platonic ships? Let us know. We do care, and we would love to hear from you. So toss us an email, a tweet, or anything. We will read it out in the next episode after we receive it.
I love how when he was reading that, he sounded like he was in physical pain, as if I just put a gun to his head and was like, "Do it right, John."
Sorry.
You do this right, John.
No, good on you.
fine.
We're launching a new thing,
terrible at
and you are
reading.
the first tribute.
But
so.
no,
No, you're fine. It's adorable. I only threw you under the bus because it's cute to do so. You're fine.
Everybody, if you'd like to
She's
make a
gonna get
comment
John.
about how much of a cinnamon roll John is, it will also be read on the next episode. So drop us a comment or send us an email. Thanks.
This podcast is just full of cinnamon rolls, and then I'm just over here being a dick.
What are you talking about? I thought you all were that, and I was just the outlier here that says, "Why am I here again?"
Why are we
Why
here
are
again, though?
Why are some of you here? Get out. We're about to talk about spoilers. Unless you want to hear those.
yeah, it's
There
about
we go.
time to move on to...
Oh my gosh, was that a motherfucking segue? Yes,
That was a motherfucking segue, dog.
Yeah,
Shit.
so, drop us an email, tweet, any feedback is great, or comments on our topics or anything. But for now, we are moving on into the spoiler room. So, with that said...
We need to get comfy chairs for the spoiler room.
I'm sitting in a comfy chair.
I know we're in a what's it called? A non-physical space. But it would be kind
We're
of
in a
cool if I
virtual
just
room.
I should commission somebody to do artwork to just draw us all sitting in comfy chairs for the spoiler.
I'm just
Hey,
now
I
imagining
would
little
support it.
chibis of us just flomping down into spoiler, into like beanbag chairs for the spoiler.
Either
Let it be so, Cass.
yeah,
We
like
can
what
praise the
John
box.
said, like either flopping down on fluffy, either that or all of us having a fluffy like turn chair, and then as the spoiler room drop comes in and we're about to throw down, we just slowly turn around in the chairs.
I've been expecting you.
I've been expecting you. But anyway,
As you pet the cat.
spoilers. Let's talk about those. Anything specific you guys want to talk about? I have a list.
I don't have anything, really.
I say I have a list, but I just pulled out a piece of paper that turned into a scroll and then went out the door.
So where to, like... Man, it's hard for me to really kind of break it down. Let's, like...
How about how they handled suicide?
Yeah, that is it's right at the start and really important. And
Yep.
That awesome conversation that I think Cammy was referring to.
Yeah.
With his mom about the 1.7 mil.
Yeah, as someone who, I mean, always, but was recently for a while grappling with someone close to me that was really, really right on the brink, that scene just hit me really, 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 really hard, and every element of it was phenomenal in delivery, and so I was just floored just by that scene alone, more than the whole entire film of Your Name. Okay, done dropping shade.
Again, I gotta talk to you about this later, but the delivery in that scene, I agree. More to the point, and maybe this is just a cultural thing, but obviously, when his mom calls him out on his shit, and then he apologizes profusely, he doesn't, like, break down or starts crying. He just constantly apologizes, like, I'm sorry, and he bows his head. I don't know if that's a cultural thing, or, like,
I mean,
he doesn't go to her and address why. He didn't really explain to her why.
I don't think that was necessary, and I don't think that's necessary. I mean, the bowing probably was. Getting on the floor and bowing was probably a cultural thing, but I think that anybody in a situation like that, or not anyone, but a lot of people who've been suicidal don't know how to react.
Yeah, true. Maybe I'm overthinking it. So.
Yeah, like, I don't think that typically when somebody confronts me and says, please don't kill yourself, I say, no, I won't do it. And here's my list of why I was suicidal in the first place. Like, that's not how it works.
The other thing I think
enough.
I like in the fact that it wasn't very blatantly explained is that further emphasizes the fact that his mom knew. You know? She just knew because she's a mother and she knows and loves her son and watches everything that he does. She could tell. And I like that underwritten power there in the fact that it isn't.
I also love how she calmly asked him about it until he actually confirmed it, and that's when she actually broke and snapped and was like, no.
Yeah, I love that scene. And of course the film doesn't stop there in addressing suicide as well. So, more spoilers.
Also you have to keep in mind that suicide doesn't always come with a reason. Some people are suicidal because they're suicidal. And honestly, the fact they decided to jump on not only disability but mental illness in this movie is just kind of insane to me. Like, normally, like, a show will be like, oh, we can handle one of these, and then Koe no Katachi's just like, so let's just do everything.
Yeah. And I do love the visual portrayal of his anxiety and is it a disability for him?
No. He's he's depressed and he's anxious.
I mean,
as evident by the fact that he
anxiety is technically a mental illness, classified as such. It's a different disability than what Shoko has, which is a physical disability, but mental disability is not limited to depression. There's a lot that falls under the umbrella of mental illness.
So, I love the visual representation of it, where not only did they constantly show from his point of view a lower angle, but anytime it was a scene that was being shown from his perspective, even if it wasn't a first person view of his perspective, it's like it was still his point of view, you would have these big X's across everyone's face until it was someone who he could open up to, in which case the X fell off. And when he felt like that his trust that he finally gave them was betrayed, slap, back goes the X and down his head go. It just... Yeah, I loved that aspect of it, and it was the fact that they actively show him look down and turn away and look away with his eyes to the side. All these subtle things I could see, and I was like, that was so well portrayed, even aside from the more elaborate and in-your-face X across the face. Although that was also part of why I loved how they portrayed it. It's just...
Well, how that was portrayed also is in the very last scene of this movie fucked me up more than the entire fucking movie.
That was beautiful.
The scene where he uncovers his ears and sees the world,
and all the
I
X's
like to interpret it, sees the world for the first time, and all the X's fall away, and the music in the background is that dur dur dur, and
that's what I was referring to earlier.
And he just starts crying because he's just so relieved and has this release that he's never gotten to have in years. Is just it was so it fucks me up every time.
And it's, that scene too, especially, again, just going back to the manga adaptation, I definitely had a moment where I was like, oh, they're ending here. This is, but I wasn't bothered by it because it's such a poignant note to end on, even if it's definitely not the same place that the manga ended. I thought it was a really excellent choice story-wise and just story beat-wise.
Carries on past that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah, there's more.
I honestly, and this is debatable, I actually liked how the movie ended more than how the manga ended. And I'm not gonna spoil the manga because there might be people here who have watched the movie but not read the manga, but I feel like the manga was a little more open-ended in its ending. And I was like, wait, what? You're ending right there? As opposed to the movie where I felt like I really felt it was an ending. I guess that's debatable, but that's how I felt personally, which is weird because I went into the movie expecting, kind of like what you said, I went in with low expectations, and then I actually the way I walked away from it, I actually had more feelings and thoughts and emotions than when I finished the manga, which was weird.
That's kind of cool though. I think that makes a lot of sense. The other thing with the ending for me, and I like both of them, but I also think that to me it kind of makes a note that while the manga, I think, is obviously you have Shoya and Shogo as your main characters, it is really a story that addresses the entire group. And so the one thing I think that I get out of the manga's ending is a bit more closure for everybody. But the film, to me, really pinned itself as being focused on Shoko, but more than anyone, I think Shoya. Like, the film directed itself really as, like, Shoya's story and how everybody was impacted by that. So having him at the focal point at the ending, to me, just kind of felt fitted to how the film directed the material.
Definitely.
Although, that being said, it's not like they didn't have any development for the other characters. Like,
I mean, they did. It just wasn't as
prominent
fleshed
or
out.
as fleshed out, but it was still there, and I appreciate that.
We don't know why Ueno is... I mean, honestly, I feel like out of all the characters, Ueno was more of a bitch in the movie than she was in the manga. She's still a bitch. But they don't give us her internal struggle as much in the movie as they do in the manga. We don't know why Kawaii is so conceited. We don't know why Mashiba is so against both. Like, they took out everything that makes those characters who they are. And that is my one gripe with this film. Because there is a reason that Mashiba hates bullies. There is a reason why Kawaii is a little bit conceited and narcissistic. And her interactions make way more sense because of that in the manga. And Ueno, to an extent, is a much more forgivable character by the end of the manga than she is at the end of the movie.
Thank you! Yes.
And I suppose that's the detriment of a 2-hour movie, right? Because when I keep talking about Ueno, you're like, you really need to read the manga because you say she's an awful human being and she doesn't. Why is she even there? You need to actually get more of her backstory.
I think that, honestly, Craig, the thing that bothers me, and this is just something that, you say in general that kind of bothers me, and I guess we could have a conversation about it, is when you don't like a character, you're like, why do they exist?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, they exist for you to not like them. They exist for you to actually have a negative response to. Not everybody is a perfect human being. However, I will point out that they do flesh out Ueno a little bit in the movie, like for when she tries to get Shoya and his old friends back together. She's not...
Yeah, the carnival scene.
Yeah, she's not a horrifyingly bad person. And even with her conversation with Shoko on the Ferris wheel, for example, she was trying in her own Ueno way to make amends. However, that is much more fleshed out in the manga, and also other actions that she takes that are actually way bitchier in the manga are resolved in a way that makes you understand her as a character, even though you hate her guts still. In the anime movie, and I mean, Cami can give her input as well, but I feel like in the movie, they took a lot of that character away from her, and so she just seems still pretty bitchy and awful.
Do you feel as though the movie kind of made the side characters one note in the fact that they stripped their backstory and their development, like Mashiba, Ueno, Sahara, and...
I am sad they cut out a lot of Sahara.
Yeah, I love
Yeah, Sahara literally was there for like 4 scenes.
Sahara and that's another thing, like, this is a minor spoiler, but, like, there is a relationship between Sahara and Ueno, for example. Yeah. That really
Which
makes...
they don't really address.
Right? Exactly, because, like, by the end of the manga, you really see how Ueno and Sahara work together, and that in and of itself makes Ueno a better person.
Yeah.
So, funny enough... Oh, go ahead, Craig.
No, I suppose, again, it just goes back to the fact that you have so much time and you have to trim some fat, and it seems as though the side characters kind of became a little bit one note in the fact that Kawaii was kind of a narcissist, Ueno's a bitch, Mashiba's a side character, Nagatsuka was a bro, and Sahara just was barely on screen next to Mashiba in terms of screen time. But that's really what I observed.
Gotcha.
Because, again, it was Shoya's and Shoko's, Ishida and Shoko's story, really. They were the players, and everyone else was to help bolster them.
Very good point, I think. Funny enough, just going back on what Cassie said about Ueno's character and things that you find in the manga, I was watching it with a friend that has read the manga and a friend that hadn't read the manga, and it was funny because every time that Kawaii showed up on screen, I would just go in the chat window and I'm like, fucking Kawaii, because for me personally, after reading the manga, she's honestly the character that I find the most unforgivable, which is funny because in the film, she doesn't do anything like too blatant that you see as opposed to Ueno, but the manga expresses both of their their motivations in a way where, to me, again, I'm like, yeah, I can forgive Ueno far more, but Kawaii. And so it was just funny because she'd just come talk on screen and I'm like, this fucking bitch. And my friend who has never read the manga is like, I kind of get it, but like...
They really downplay... But that's, again, like, they didn't give you Kawaii's reasons for being the conceited little word I don't want to say on air.
Yes.
Narcissist.
There's another word for her.
I know. I'm just trying to give it
But yeah, it's just like Ueno she is a horrible person, but she herself realizes that.
Yes.
Whereas I believe Kawaii, in comparison, does not have that level of self-reflectment. But we can have a conversation about that, maybe in a spoiler manga extra episode one day or something. But we should stray from talking any more about this. But yeah, definitely, I feel the same way, Cami.
Let me just cap that up by saying, if anything, I did find the fact that Kawaii creating the paper cranes, the origami cranes, you buy the thing, if you fold 1,000 or whatever, you get a wish, and she gave them to him to try like towards the tail end of the movie.
Mm-hmm. Though,
so that was nice.
Though, with
John?
On the subject of Kawaii and Ueno, I didn't get to really explore their stories in the manga with how far I got. even watching the movie, I end up coming out of it just thinking not too badly of Ueno, but thinking far worse of Kawaii. And so...
Interesting.
Well, I mean, and if you catch on to the subtle ways they try to portray that, like, for example, when they have the argument on the bridge that really breaks up the friend group, you, that is the best, I think, that the movie did at encapsulating, like, how much of a worse person Kawaii is than Ueno, because Kawaii goes in there and basically says, well, I mean, I'm going to apologize, but only because this guy told me to. And then Ueno's response is, well, what right do we have to, basically say that he's in the wrong when we did the exact same thing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's always very truthful. Even like when she's being a bitch to Shoko on the Ferris wheel, she says, listen, I didn't understand you, but you didn't try to understand me either. And I don't like you, but can we just accept that? And she's a horrible person, but she realizes that about herself.
Yeah.
Whereas Kawaii's like, well, I mean, you're a horrible person and I wasn't as bad as you.
Yeah, which makes her worse.
Yeah, which makes her worse in a way, because she's really just a sheep.
She is definitely a follower, and the fact that she just points and laughs while everyone does it, and then she pleads the fifth.
To looking like she's the bad person, she becomes the
bad guy.
Starts crying and sobbing and pointing out, "No, they did.
You're so mean."
Yeah, that's what made me really, really not like her, because she always she made herself the victim.
I can get it.
Yeah.
Yep.
But you know who's more worth our time, everybody? That character, that Shoko girl, that sweet, sweet Shoko girl.
Oh, we haven't talked enough
girl?
about her. Yeah, God, she did such a good job. And can I say one thing that I appreciated? This is kind of to deal with Shoko, but also to something that John mentioned earlier. I liked that some of the sign language wasn't translated for us.
Oh,
it was left up to interpretation.
Yeah.
Like at the fireworks festival when she's walking off to kill herself and he does the sign for see you. Like, see you later. And then she has this pause where she just blankly stares at him. And then she does something that obviously is not see you later, but it's not translated. And then she just walks away.
Because he obviously doesn't understand what that sign means.
Either he doesn't understand or she said something like, goodbye or thank you or something that definitely wasn't implying that she'll see him later. And that also happens when he's asking her about her birthday. And he's like, we should do this together next year. And then she just kind of subtly smiles to him because she knows she's not going to be there next year because she's planning to go jump off a building. But her build-up is so good, and even her build-up to her wanting to commit suicide is so good, too. Because she really does just want to be everybody's friend, and she just wants to do good for everyone. I think, and I'm going to stop talking for a second so Cammie can actually talk about this because she's the one who brought this up. But one of the scenes that I feel like really encapsulates that is actually in their younger years when she's cleaning off his desk. And I'm so happy they kept this in there. And he goes in there and he's like, what the fuck are you doing? And she's just like, I'm trying just as hard as everybody else. And he just can't understand her.
Yeah.
It's when you and Pete watched it, Pete was actually audibly reacting to it, which is interesting. He's like, she's trying, dude. What the fuck? She's trying. And seeing that is very moving.
Oh my gosh, yeah. No, everything in just the portrayal of Shoko felt very just very much like the manga. The one chapter, and again I won't go into details, that they did cut that I was just sad about was basically entirely through Shoko's point of view. So that's kind of why I was like, darn, because there's a lot of poignancy there. But again, I think that the film, also for time's sake, it was smart to kind of focus a bit more on Shoya and his recollection. And just every bit of time that Shoko was on screen, though, was still significant and really meaningful. So I appreciated it a whole lot.
Also,
her, sorry, I was just going to very quickly mention her facial reactions are also great.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like, for example, when Ishida first shows up at her sign language class or whatever, and he's like, hey, do you remember me? And you just have a series of different emotions flash across her face. From awkwardness to anger to confusion to she eventually just runs.
Yeah.
She seemed like somebody who had been bullied.
Yeah, it's like,
Oh, yeah.
what do you do in faced with this bully again, and they're trying to be all buddy? What do you do? I mean, I've had that, where one of the guys that had bullied me in school came up to me on my way home from college one day, and was trying to be all buddy with me, and I was like, "You are a horrible person to me in school. We are not friends."
Hi, good day, sir. Good day.
That's happened to me as well. There's a girl in particular who still tries to contact me constantly. And I remember one conversation I had with her. She was just like, I know I was really mean to you back in high school, and oh, that was a car. I know I was really mean back to you in high school, and I kind of used you, but I mean, you were really easily manipulatable. So I mean, and it's like it's not a good reason. But I mean, like, I feel like the bullying was very well represented, especially the mob mentality of the classroom eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also really like the difference portrayed between, like, a boy bullying a girl and then how girls bully each other, because it's very different. And I know that Cassie and I can understand those differences very well. It's like, and so everything that happened with, like, Ueno and Kawaii and Shoko was just so accurate to life, so very real. And again, with the mob mentality in the classroom as well, I think it's funny that Japan was like, oh no, this reflects badly on Japan's educational system, when I'm like, I feel like this exact same thing is basically how it would be handled in an American classroom.
Totally.
It was
legit.
Teacher apathy, whatever, kid mob mentality, it's all there. It's just across the board.
Kids are just cruel.
In the UK.
Yeah.
They just are.
Little shits, a lot of them.
Yeah. All right. What else do we have? I could talk about this film for hours.
There is one other thing that I want to address, which is, I wouldn't say the elephant in the room, but something everybody seems to want to talk to me about, and I want to get your guys' opinions. What did you guys feel about the quote-unquote romance in this film? Between Shoko and Ishida? Because so many people have come up to me and be like, well, how do you feel about the fact that they kind of just presented it and then let it drop? And I was like, I don't know, it seems kind of real to me. I mean, I've had plenty of people who have come up to me and apparently tried to flirt with me or try and get me to go out with them, and I find out years later that those are the feelings they had. But that aside, I feel like at the end of the movie, they have this unspoken relationship, whether it be romantic or otherwise, that can be built up off screen, and I don't need that closure.
Yeah.
It's left to interpretation.
And I was wondering about how you guys felt, because they did the same thing in the manga, just to be clear.
Yeah.
It's not something that was cut out or anything.
I feel like it basically just sets itself up as something that has the potential to grow. It's a sprout of what could eventually become a blossom to me. And that's totally fine. And I also think, just like in regards to the story, would I have wanted a kiss between the two characters, or would I have wanted Shoya holding Shoko's hand saying, I need you to help me live?
Right?
What's more rewarding? What we got.
Right?
The latter.
Yeah.
The latter.
Yeah. So...
And also,
it can be interpreted so many ways.
Exactly. And I mean, also, I feel like her confessing to him was less a story point and more to show the fact that she has a hard time communicating.
That's a good point. I like that.
And he's honest about it, too. Like, he's ain't gonna sugarcoat it when he said,
I didn't understand you.
You like the moon?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then she goes home, and then she does the typical teenage girl thing where she's like, I tried to confess.
And I can also relate to how, like, while people will be like, you idiot, of course she's trying to confess to you. It's like, no, not that clear. Unfortunately for her, it wasn't that clear. And I can see it from his perspective as how there's no way that someone could feel
as an oblivious male himself.
Yeah, he's oblivious, but also in the fact that, like, she communicated to him without using signing to him. So kudos to her So at a certain point, I'm surprised she didn't sign it while trying to say it out loud.
But I mean,
what can you do?
that's just the thing that's also relatable, because when you tell somebody you like them, it's very frazzling.
Yeah.
And on top of the fact that, like, she tried to communicate it and he didn't understand, whether you're a girl who's deaf or a girl who's blind or just a regular girl without any disabilities, it sucks, and you will turn and run pale.
Yeah, I get you.
And her reaction was totally perfect. You know, just having that follow-up of when she goes in her room and her sister's like, what happened? And she's just kicking on the bed, you know, that's so real. That's just the follow-up.
And sending a text message.
Yeah, the text message.
Yeah. But by the end, I feel like they have, especially after Shoko's attempted suicide and his almost death, that they realize that they both need each other to live. And there's that moment with, again, they didn't translate the sign language, but when she hooked her pinkies and it's just like, yes, we can promise to do this, like that didn't need any translation. So it's just, I felt like I like Cami said, I want that beautiful moment as compared to him being like, Skita, and then sweeping her into his arms and kissing her on the cheek or something. Like,
I think it was a far more impactful scene as is than if it turned into a more cliche romance scene. It could develop into a relationship. It might not. Who knows?
Well,
we're seeing a small part of their lives, and I am happy for that. I personally would read it into it being a romantic relationship, but if they turn around and said, no, they end up having their own different relationships, but are still important pieces of each other's lives, that would be fine too, because that would also be an accurate representation of a relationship between the two, even if it did end up being more platonic than romantic.
It's like they complete each other.
Yeah.
That was really the only other thing I wanted to address.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems legit. We covered all the bases in the movie, the major plot points.
The only other thing I want to bring up was the sister.
Yuzuru.
Her hobby and her reason for her hobby when it gets revealed. It's like, and just how desperate she was trying to prevent Shoko from committing suicide by taking these photographs of all these dead animals and plastering them everywhere. Like
death is not a beautiful thing. Like, I like that was kept in the movie, actually. I was if they took that scene out, I would have rage quit.
How...
Can we...
Her life was almost on hold because she was worried too much about Shoko and how she finally decided to move on with her own life and take steps to bettering herself by the end of it and actually becoming her own person and not just her self-inserted guardian angel of Shoko's. And also her own frustrations and how helpless she feels. And I just want to give her a hug.
I was so glad that they focused on Yuzuru as much as they did, because that was one of the situations where I was like, oh wait, they're actually leaving this in for a lot of her story, and I'm really, really happy that they did.
Yep, Yuzuru, if they didn't shaft her at all, and I'm very happy they didn't.
Yeah,
Yuzuru is one of those people who made that film as great as it is.
Yeah, that's about all I got.
Same. So have we had enough of an emotional release, guys?
Oh man, quite a bit.
Every time Shoko said "I'm sorry," I fucking like cry. And the hospital scene where Ueno like beats the crap out of her, and then she like starts saying "I'm sorry" to Ishido's mom, and then when Shoko talks to Nagasuka and says, I want to fix everything, I just lost it. legit lost
You just
it.
remind me of another scene involving Nishida's mom, and
Okay, if we're gonna talk about it, we gotta make it quick. We're going over.
That's all I had.
when Shoko's mom bowed and apologized to Ishida's mom, and she was just like, no, stand up, come up with just that scene. I just loved it, and
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, there's a lot of moments of emotional release in this film, and I feel like if we could, if I allowed it, we would sit here and talk about it all day. But I'm gonna put my director foot down and say enough is enough, guys.
Fair enough.
Okay.
Unless you have any final thoughts that you want to wrap up with.
Nope.
I'm good. Go watch this, please.
Just go watch
Please.
it. Do yourself a favor. Go watch it now. Do it. Go.
Please. Pretty please. Kami-sama orders, so I spoke to him earlier today.
All right.
Any final thoughts, Craig, before John takes us out of here?
Nope. That's basically all I had. So.
All right, host, get us out of here. I want to go.
All
and
right
take some
then.
water.
So that was episode 22 of the Annie Chat Box. Thank you all for joining us today, and we hope you have a good night and enjoyed this episode.
Oyasumi.
Bye, take care.
Bye, Inara.
Peace.
Bye.
Peace out.
Baka.